get my 6. We're not alone. Black widow's bite left a hell of a mark. I'm going to get to that. But first I must get to 8 other things. You know what? When does the veil grow thinnest? Okay, there's certain times, certain places. Just before day becomes night, which is where we are as of this recording. When there is water or moisture or weather, it just rained for the first time in 2 months, and that was a miracle. This black widow's bite brought a miracle with it, and I'm going to explain this. Where field meets forest and at higher elevations. So pay very close attention to anything that may or may not move around in the background, and listen for odd sounds like growls or anything else. So today was a very special day in so many ways. I just had a man leave my home that is my other second longest, oldest, lifelong friend, childhood best friend. And I had not seen him in more than 10 years until today. He lives in Sweden. He's an American. We grew up together in Appalachistan, and along with the other guy that was here last week. But after college, he was in the U.S. Navy. He's a veteran. He served our country. But then the line of work he went into took him to Scandinavia, and that's where he's been living for quite some time. And he was just one of many people that I just haven't seen in more than 10 years. And so he was over here visiting some family members, and he had his beautiful wife and their wonderful son, who's only a year older than our son. And so as they're driving back up to, D.C. to fly out of Dulles to go back to Europe tomorrow, they stopped by. We had planned on them stopping by from like 2 to 4, something like that. But our son had some practice for an event that he's involved with at 4, and I was hesitant. I thought, I haven't seen this guy more than 10 years, and we haven't really been super close since we were little kids. What if he comes here and it's boring? And I was like, I wanted an out. So I texted him this morning, and I was like, hey, instead of coming from 2 to 4, could you come from 1 to 3? Because our son has fill in the blank practice at this certain time at 4. So that way, after you guys go to drive up to DC, we can still make that. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, no problems. But my true intent was to have an out in case this reunion sucked. You know what I mean? Be able to say, well, we got to go to take Daniel to fill in the blank practice. And my friend said, yeah, that's fine, because we had to leave by a certain time anyway. And I was like, okay. So they come, and what a reunion. What a wonderful time we had. Just like with my other friend that was here last week, I was so happy to see that this friend was with a wonderful woman. The woman that he's chosen to be his partner, who's his wife, and with whom he has an 11-year-old son, is beautiful. She's smart. She's got a great personality, and she works. I got a thing against deadbeats. I'm sorry. I just do. So it's just wonderful to see this. I was happy to see that one of my childhood best friends had ended up with a very wonderful woman in so many ways, in all ways. And his kid, respectful, well-mannered, speaks 4 languages, like my son speaks 2 or 3. I don't know. I lose count. I speak a few. Used to speak a lot more. I forgot a lot of them because I haven't used them in a long time. But anyway, it was just, we hit it off so well. We had a wonderful lunch that my beautiful bride Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, prepared. And you've seen her cooking videos. If you haven't, if your life, the quality of your life would be increased drastically if you went and subscribed to my wife's channel. It's called Life with Dearly. The link to her channel is in the description box of this video. She's gorgeous. I mean, just look at her. Just watch the videos and just be like, that's what I do. It's like half the time she's like, didn't you hear what I said? I'm telling you this for the third time. And I'm like, honey, I'm just looking at you because you're so pretty. You know what I mean? Sometimes when she's talking, I'm just not hearing it because I'm just mesmerized by her beauty. So go subscribe to her channel. So anyway, we're all hitting it off. When they pulled in the I'm getting around to this black widow crap. Hold on now. And this bite and the... So, it has not rained here in 2 months. We are spending 3 or 4 hours every other evening watering trees and bushes that we don't want to lose. I'm giving my honeybees and... I heard footsteps in the forest. I just heard a tree knock. Keep getting my 6. There's something walking in the woods right back here. Potentially. Okay, so we had a wonderful lunch that Dearly prepared. Oh my gosh. I exercise, and I told my buddy this. Almost said his name. I told him I wouldn't. But we also ran together. We ran cross country and stuff together. And we would train together in the snow when it was 20 degrees and snowing. And we would go run road races together. He actually moved when we were in middle school. But I would see him at the cross country meets, and I was always so excited at the cross country meets, not just so I could whoop some AQQ, and break course records and all that stuff that I used to do back when I was a competitive distance runner. My senior year, I broke the course record on every course I ran on except for the state meet. I kind of blew up that. I didn't do too well there, but I was a better track guy. I had a lot of leg speed, but true story, other than the state meet and the regionals, okay, I broke the course record on every freaking course I ran on that year. When I would finish, I would turn around to see how far back second place was, and I usually couldn't see him. I mean, it was... Oh, that's a truck that needs a new muffler. Wow, way down there. All right, so... Anyway, the food was great. Conversation was great. As they're coming up the driveway, haven't had rain. I've been feeding the bees sugar water for since they were poisoned, and our colony's making it. We have brood and we have new bees being born, so I believe we saved our colony. But as my friend entered the driveway, the skies opened up and it poured the rain down for 2 hours. We had thunder, we had lightning, and excuse me, this is the greatest thing because we haven't had rain in 2 months. So, you know, Dearly and Daniel have been back from the Philippines for like 5 or 6 weeks. I haven't mown the grass since they've been back because you just kill it. I mean, it hasn't grown much. It's tall in a couple places, but if you mow it and then you get a 97 degrees day like we had today before the rain came, it's just going to kill it. So anyway, the reunion went off really well. We were having so much fun that when 3 o'clock rolled around, my buddy's wife, being so respectful, said, oh, it's such and so time. Perhaps we should leave. And I said, nope. I said, listen, we're just going to skip fill in the blank practice today, if that's fine with, you know, Daniel and they were like, oh yeah, because they were having so much fun too. They're like, really? I said, yeah, so you guys can stay until, and then I named the time that they named, which was like an hour later. And they were like, well, we actually kind of said we had to leave by then, but we really don't. We were afraid we wouldn't have fun, or this might not go well, so we wanted to have an out. But we'll stay. we can stay longer. You know, so we were both on like the same page, both had the same strategy, same plan. They ended up staying for hours after this. So the rain stopped, the lightning stopped, and before this, when they'd first gotten here, before the storm came, we walked around our property. We showed them the fruit orchards we planted, the gardens, the trail that, you know, goes around the entire place, and showed them our honeybees. I took the bees out. I pulled some, you know, frames out to show them how honeybees are so docile. You can play with them, pick them up. They don't sting you. Showed them the trees we planted, had a great time. So after dinner and after the storm, I said, let's go sit on the porch if you'd like, so we can see our pond. It's just a nice view. And we're sitting there, and we're looking at the fruit orchard we planted that had peaches like this now. And one of the kids, either Daniel or the other kid, I asked the kids. I said, you want to feed the fish again? Because we'd fed the fish earlier. And I saw my friend's son get excited. Yeah, he was excited about this. And I said, would you like to go fishing? And man, he just started jumping up and down. He's like, yeah. So I go into the woodshed or the garage, and I get a couple of fishing poles. And I figure, well, we'll just use bread, because I didn't want to find any worms and stuff. So we just use bread, and they'll catch a couple bluegills. So I said to this kid, have you been fishing before? Yeah, and him and his dad, my friend, had just gone down in Appalachistan, but they didn't catch anything. They live in Sweden. It's very cold. They're like at the 55th parallel, so it's a lot colder. Like, if they grow tomatoes naturally, my friend was telling me they only get about this big. You have to have a greenhouse. It's just they have, most of the year there it's very cold. He pulled up his weather while we're here. It's 97 degrees here in Virginia today. It's 66 degrees Fahrenheit where he lives. That's like fall here, you know. Actually, in Virginia, that's like winter. So I asked the kid, have you ever caught a fish? And the answer was no. He had never caught a fish in his life. So this friend of mine, you know, I told a story a few months back here on this channel about visiting a friend's grandmother and great-grandmother who had actually known Civil War veterans. You remember that? It was about how we almost died, but the ones that came behind us did. I think that's the title. I'm going to have to send this video to my buddy. I talked about going into this lady's house. It was my friend's great-grandmother, and it had the well in the basement, the cistern, and the creepy old house up above it where we found the secret room with all the books. This is going to blow your mind. And the bottle that we almost drank out of, that because we thought it was wine and we were like 10 or 11, we'd never had alcohol and we wanted to see what it was like. But we convinced each other not to because it smelled so putrid, and it turned out it was poison. And when a thief came by about 10 or 15 years later, he actually did drink from that bottle as he was stealing these books. Turns out it was strychnine, the thing the great-grandfather used to poison animals so he could stuff them, mount them. He was a taxidermist. So I told my friend this today, and you know what he said to me? He goes, Kevin, that all happened. And it was so weird because I told the story as a true story because it felt true, but I didn't necessarily remember all these events. But he confirmed, so this is more repressed memories, like my other friend who claimed we potentially saw the Bigfoot Sasquatch when we went looking for the fields of the growers there when our other friend died. I'm kind of thinking if I could talk to a few more people from my past life before, there was just events. It made me question how much of these fictional short stories I've written are actually fictional, if you know what I mean. It's like some wow, strange stuff going on here. It's like Manchurian Candidate type stuff. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I don't buy any of these things, but a lot of people used to comment that I was part of Project MK Ultra, and I Googled that one time, and I was like, I thought everybody did that. Anyway, we got the fishing poles out, we got bread out. This kid caught his first fish. He put the thing in there, he caught a bluegill, a nice bluegill this big. And then Daniel went fishing. He got a bluegill. We were trading poles. And then the kid caught another bluegill. And it occurred to me that we have catfish in our pond, potentially, like this long, because we stocked it when we first moved in here that summer. We knew we had bluegill, crappie, bass, largemouth bass, but we wanted catfish and more bass, so we went out and we caught those things and we brought them back and put them in there, and they all live. They're still there. But we put a catfish in our pond 5 years ago that was probably 26 inches long, 28 inches long. So we made bigger bait balls of bread, put on these kids' hooks, casting them out there. This kid, one of my childhood best friend's son, 11 years old, visiting from Sweden, great kid, never caught a fish in his life till today. Catches these 2 nice bluegill, because after Daniel caught a bluegill, he got a bluegill. But I went and got a second pole so they could both fish at the same time for the catfish. We cast out there. The end of the pole just goes down. I like made sure that it was, the hook was set, and I handed this kid the pole, reel it in. He's like, how? We had to teach him how to do it, and his dad's there and his mom, and they're filming, they're getting video footage of this. This kid reeled in out of that little pond in our front yard a freaking blue cat that was like, it was at least 20, 22 inches long. So since that wasn't the big one we stocked 5 years ago, we remember which one time we went fishing and we caught like 12 blue cats that were all like 8 or 9 inches. They were tiny little things. Well, this kid is confirmed about 22 inches long. So they're healthy, they're doing great. It was so awesome. And Daniel was so happy to see his new friend that he really likes catch this big catfish out of our pond. They got pictures, they got video. And the reason I brought up that story about the creepy old houses of my friend's great grandparents is because we've come full circle. This is the second miracle. The first is when my buddy came and his family, they brought rain for the first time in 2 months. I mean, we had a downpour. I'm going to be mowing grass in about 2 days. Our trees have been watered. Everything is good. Second one, we've gone full circle. That time that I visited those creepy houses and we experienced those strange things and found that secret room with those books that were quite valuable and that bottle of poison, we also did some fishing. There was a very small creek across the road from his grandmother's house. We went down there and I had a Zebco 33. I was a 10-year-old kid. Zebco 33 and a little rooster tail spinner. First cast. Boom! Caught this huge 18-inch brook trout. It was in that tiny little creek. Took it back to his grandma's house and they were cleaning it up, and they said that's the biggest fish that's ever been caught out of that creek ever. And his grandfather was saying, "Oh, you're just lucky, that was just luck." Get something like that on the first cast? I said, well, I'll go back down to that creek and I'll catch another one just like it on my next cast. That's just how I am. That's who I've always been. So he was laughing, everybody's teasing me. They got that fish cleaned up. So we went back to the creek, and the old man was like, "Come on." He says he's going to catch another one just like it on his next cast. Let's go find out. They go with me. My next cast, I caught a 16-inch long brook trout. The old man didn't speak to me again the whole time we were there. So we've come full circle. That fishing story that I will remember for life, and that Jeff reminded me. Oops. Hey, shout out Jeff. Reminded me. He doesn't care. And now his son will remember for life, and my son is the next generation of good friends, will always remember the day he came here, caught his first fish, his second fish, and the biggest fish that's ever been pulled out of this pond, that giant catfish. Now, what's up with this black widow bite? No spoilers, because I hate spoilers. Yesterday, me and my wife and our son went to the theaters and we saw Black Widow. We're big Marvel fans. We love the Avengers, and I think Scarlett Johansson's kind of cute, plus 1,000. But here's the takeaway from that movie, and I'm not going to give you any spoilers. It's a great movie. It fit in well with the storyline. We don't choose the family into which we are born. But as we go through life, we have the opportunity to choose the family that we choose. I have 3 sisters, love them all, been happy to have reconnected with them all this summer. It's great. But I wasn't born with any brothers. But in the last week, it's been confirmed to me, I have chosen 2. I didn't explain that ending very well. The whole point of the Black Widow movie, I've never done this. That was pretty much the theme within the storyline and the most awesome fighting scenes of any of the movies yet. I mean, they're fighting in midair as they're falling to their deaths. It's amazing. Scarlett Johansson, she sure is cute. Times 1,000. But you learn about her past, and I'm not going to give any spoilers. I would never do that. You learn about her birth family, other families, MK Ultra families, and then the family that she chose. And I'm not even going to tell you who that was, because she ends up choosing several among all the different groups. That's a great thing about life, because that's true, that's real. And I've chosen the guy that was here today and the guy that was here last week as my brothers. Even though I was born without them, I didn't have any, 3 sisters that are wonderful, and they're all great. But I have 2 brothers. And it wasn't the guys I served with in Iraq. It was these guys I grew up with. I think that's how I meant the end of the video to go. All right, I'm excited. I'm just overwhelmed with emotion. It's been a very emotional week. In the last 5 days, I've seen my brothers for the first time in more than 10 years. All right, y'all have a good evening. We'll see you for more next time.